Hi, this is I'm on your side, Dr. Corey Strack again. I wanted to try to stay focused here and to say that I'm pleased to announce the publication of a new monograph. I'm glued to all these brilliant podcasts. I really like the psychologists in the US. I think they've really nailed psychology in a way that's going to move. They have done so much outstanding work. I'm talking there about Dr. David Hawkins, Dr. Les Carter, Dr. Jordan Peterson, a great guy altogether. Oh, he's phenomenal crack. Dr. David E. Clark with the knee, and several other, Dr. Romano. All of these people have done an amazing, and all of the survivors of narcissistic abuse as well. And Joe Navarro, he's the FBI brilliant fellow, and of course Brad, absolutely amazing questions on psychology, brilliant guy altogether, and so on. So all of these, I mean, I've been listening to these for years and years and years. So incrementally, they have really, of course, Dr. Phil's fill in the blanks has been amazing in terms of my education and psychology. But it's a brilliant background to have on top of mathematics, and then to bring that into law and to human rights and all of that, and constitutional law. Like it's a graduate, and then whistleblowing, all that sort of thing. It's a really nice kind of a body of work that I've now kind of hopefully completed with the time. Being a workaholic, it's very hard to stay stuck, but I really, it's time to let the work kind of, build its own power on the various platforms that I have. So I'm pleased to announce the publication of my new monograph, Artificial Intelligence, Actual Omission, and a Constitutional Balance. But I think what I bring to this analysis is my background in pure mathematics, my background in the study of protective disclosures, and particularly actual omission, and the huge education I've got from the many brilliant psychologists in the US. And I couldn't say one is better than the other because they all have different perspectives, and also work from the University of Harvard that I've read on narcissism and dispute resolution and all that I've got from, and then Psychology Today, and then the various people like FBI, people from the FBI, and people like that, people who've written about how to deal with law enforcement and problems in law enforcement and things like that. They've written some brilliant papers on on various criminal journals on criminal criminal psychology and all that sort of thing. So I've been I'm very interested in criminology as well. So all of these things are all linked, if you like. So this work asks a simple but urgent question: who was responsible when artificial intelligence influenced an important decision or causes serious harm? Now, I've looked at artificial intelligence from both sides now, like Joni Mitchell, from the mathematics side, but also from the governance side, and from the fragmentation. It's shocking really to see how fragmented it is, and the haves and the have-nots in artificial intelligence. Absolutely shocking. But it was probably the same way with mobile phone technology when it came out first. So AI is often presented as if it acts by itself. We hear expressions such as the algorithm decided or the AI identified the risk, but AI does not design, purchase, or deploy itself. Human beings decide what the system is designed. I'm particularly interested in the design, the architecture of AI, and who, all the did this talk on a pipeline, and at every pipeline there was a design decision to be made, and how those design decisions influence the next stage and the eventual outcome or decision that the algorithm actually decides. And that has a huge impact on human rights. And as I say, what I'm talking about is constitutional law and law and so on. So what the system is designed to do, what information it will use, what information it will exclude, how will it classify people? What errors will be accepted? How much human supervision will remain? And what safeguards will be included or omitted? Companies also decide how much money to spend on safety, checking, explanation, and appeals. Public institutions decide whether to use these systems and how much power to give them. The monograph argues that we must look beyond the visible AI result and examine the complete system of human and institutional power behind it. Now, I wouldn't have this insight if I hadn't looked at, the governance and the architecture of AI and the mathematics of AI. So I can bring that extra mathematical expertise, if you like, into this. And I'm particularly interested in linear algebra. So every time I'm working with AI, I kind of think, what's the which Euclidean algorithm gives this, which Euclidean, is it the distance function, is it the norm function, what is this? So I look through the words and I'm looking, where's the mathematics in there? So it's an unusual relationship with AI. So the AI constitutional blind spot, the monograph introduces the idea of the AI constitutional blind spot. This blind spot arises when AI influences an important decision, but the complete system behind the decision is never examined. Responsibility, this is something I uncovered from my earlier work. Responsibility may be divided among developers, data suppliers, the people that do data annotation, technological companies, contractors, don't get me started, managers and public bodies. Each may accept responsibility for only one small part of the process, yet the person affected experience the combined consequences of the whole system. The central principle is therefore, when power is divided or fragmented, responsibility must be reconstructed, not allowed to disappear. Let me say that again. When power is divided or fragmented, responsibility must be reconstructed, not allowed to disappear. This is my concern, listening to the AI whistleblowers, that this is what's going to happen. No, that what we have to do is we have to face it, we have to reconstruct, the responsibility must be reconstructed, given that the power is divided. That's very clear from what the AI whistleblowers are saying on the various podcasts. They're very interesting to listen to. Complexity cannot be permitted to become immunity. The more complicated and powerful an AI system becomes, the stronger the duties to record decisions, preserve evidence, explain outcomes, and identify responsibility should become. And then my favourite, acts of omission. One of the most important and original parts of this monograph is its focus on acts of omission. An act of omission is something important that a person or institution fails to do. An institution may fail to reveal that AI was used, fail to say, preserve prompts, outputs, or data. It's just hiding everything, putting everything under the carpet, inverted commas. But that's very serious when you're talking about AI, given how much can be done here. So record which version of the system was used, investigate repeated errors, explain how a decision was made. I'm particularly interested in the design decisions at each stage in the whole architecture from start to finish, right through all the fragmented system. So correct false information, disclose a conflict of interest. That's the huge issue for me. Or suspend, I believe conflicts of interest are the root of all corruption. That's my own theory. Or suspend a system after receiving serious warnings. Each failure may appear small when examined alone. You see, it's all the discretization versus the cumulative. It's the same thing. It's the cumulative rather than the discretization. I mean, I'm looking at this over and over again in terms of, the way I see things being tested or being adjudicated on discrete kind of a way, rather than looking at the cumulative structure, which is much more difficult to adjudicate. But there is a way. There is a way to make AI accountable. So when combined, however, these omissions may make it impossible to establish what went wrong. This creates what I call the omission evidence paradox. This is very much like the prima facie gate that we have in the current Protective Disclosures Act. The failure to preserve evidence creates an absence of evidence. The absence is then used to claim that no wrongdoing can be proved. You see the circularity there again. This is why missing evidence should not always be treated as neutral. If an institution controlled the records and failed to preserve them, then that failure must itself become part of the investigation. Warnings from AI whistleblowers. These are, regularly on the diary of a CEO. This question has become even more important because current and former employees of major AI companies are now warning that meaningful human control may be maybe we can, in a huge way, some of them are saying. These whistleblowers are not really saying AI sometimes makes mistakes. We already know that AI can produce false information, fraud code and misleading advice, and we have these, hallucination cases and made-up cases. Their deeper concern is that AI systems are becoming more capable, more autonomous, and more difficult to understand, while the companies develop them hold important information that governments and the public may never see. In 2024, current and former employees of OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, and Anthropic issued a public statement that a right to warn about artificial intelligence. They asked about a right to warn about advanced artificial intelligence. They identified risks including growing inequality, manipulation, misinformation, and the possible future loss of control over autonomous AI systems. They also warned that commercial pressure, the profit motive, money, may discourage companies from revealing the full risks of the technology they're developing. More recent safety research has identified early warning signs. In controlled experiments, some AI models have recognized when they have been tested, found loopholes in safety evaluations, concealed certain behavior, attempted to avoid monitoring, and acted against their instructions while pursuing a given objective. These findings must be taken seriously, but they must also be described accurately. They do not prove that present AI systems have completely escaped human control. So the other piece of research is the International AI Safety Report 2026, produced by more than 100 experts and supported by over 30 countries and international organizations, stated that current AI systems do not yet have the combined abilities to operate entirely outside human control. So we're at a good moment here. However, the report also states that AI systems are improving in important connected areas with that risk, including autonomous action planning, deception, awareness of testing, and the ability to exploit weakness in evaluations. The most accurate conclusion is therefore not that complete control has already been lost, even though that's the warning signs. It is that warning signs are appearing while our systems of public oversight remain incomplete. There is also a quieter form of losing control. If governments, companies, individuals become heavily dependent on AI, human judgment may gradually be replaced by automatic recommendations. I mean, we're seeing this already everywhere. People may begin to accept AI conclusions without properly questioning them, or it's like being indoctrinated by AI. Public officials may rely on systems they do not fully understand. Responsibility may become divided, and harmful decisions may become. So I'm very concerned about AI indoctrination. Even though as you see, I use it to edit documents, and it's very handy for research. But I'm very concerned about the warning signs that what we're getting here is AI indoctrination. So that's dictatorship. That's dictatorship by a small group of companies. I mean, should that be acceptable in constitutional democracies? Completely unacceptable. And what's being done about it? So we need to understand, the architecture of AI fully and how fragmented it is before we can say that it has to be accountable to constitutional law. So, in my opinion, because constitutional law is accountable ultimately to the people, and AI should be accountable to the people, not to profit. So control can therefore be weakened even before an AI system actively attempts to resist human authority. This is why whistleblowers are essential, and they may possess information about risks, failures, internal warnings, and omitted safeguards that the public cannot obtain in any other way. Their warnings strongly support the central arbiter of this monograph. We must establish effective constitutional control before AI becomes too powerful, too deeply embedded, and too difficult to examine. We should not wait until control has been lost. Bringing my previous research together, this monograph brings several central themes from my previous research. It builds upon my work on artificial intelligence as a mathematical system, linear algebra, and the mathematical foundations of AI governance, and democratic accountability. In particular,